Let's just say, the most expensive car in the world. It's a sum that breaks the mind. For that money, you could buy a squadron of private jets or a small island. But someone bought a car. One car. When you hear Mercedes 300 SLR, you think of two things. First, that insane price. Second, 1955, Le Mans, the most horrific tragedy in motorsport history. This is all true, but it's just the cover. It's the headlines. The real story of the 300 SLR isn't about money. It's about engineering audacity bordering on madness. It's a story of a triumph so great, it demanded the ultimate price. And today, we're going to find out why this car isn't just the most expensive. Let's clear this up immediately. The most common mistake. People see a silver car with gullwing doors in the coupe version and say, "Ah, that's the 300 SL Gullwing." No, the 300 SL Gullwing, Index W198, is a road-going supercar. Yes, it was revolutionary, but it was civilian. The 300 SLR, Index W196S, is a completely different beast. It is a purebred racing machine. The acronym SLR stands for Sport Like Rennen. Sport Like Racing. That last letter, R, is the chasm between them. The Gullwing had a 6-cylinder engine. The SLR had something else entirely. Something that had no business being on the road. To understand the SLR, you have to understand 1954. Mercedes had returned to Formula One and instantly began dominating with the W196 car. It was piloted by the maestro, Juan Manuel Fangio. When Mercedes decided to compete in the World Sports Car Championship, they didn't build a car from scratch. They did something far more audacious. They took the engine straight from Formula One. Literally. It's not a V8. It's a monstrously long straight 8. It was canted over 33 degrees to lower the hood line and improve aerodynamics. They bored it out from 2.5 to 3.0 liters, and it produced around 310 horsepower. But the main secret wasn't its power. It was how the engine achieved it. First, direct fuel injection. This was technology borrowed from the Messerschmitt Bf 109 fighter plane from World War II. While Ferrari and Jaguar were fiddling with carburetors, Mercedes was already injecting fuel directly into the cylinders. Second, and this is pure magic, desmodromic valve actuation. In a normal engine, the spring can't keep up and floats. This limits the revs. Mercedes' solution? Get rid of the springs. In a Desmo system, one cam pushes the valve open, and another, special cam, pulls it shut. No springs, no valve float. This allowed the engine to safely rev to an insane, for the time, 7,500 revolutions per minute. It was technology that Ferrari wouldn't dare use widely for another decade. In 1955, Mercedes had an Achilles heel: the brakes. Their main competitor, the Jaguar D-Type, had revolutionary disc brakes developed by Dunlop. They were lighter and more effective. Mercedes stubbornly stuck with drum brakes. Yes, they were gigantic, complex, and mounted inboard to reduce weight. But in a long race like Le Mans, they would overheat. The engineers needed a solution, and it was typically German, over-engineered, brilliant, and completely unexpected. They invented the air brake. On the Mulsanne straight, the car hit 290 kilometers per hour, about 180 miles per hour. Before the corner, the driver would press a button, and hydraulics would raise a metal shield, almost a square meter in size, behind his head. This wasn't just a spoiler. This was a giant parachute that created insane aerodynamic drag. It did 3 jobs. It dramatically slowed the car, saving the drum brakes. It pressed the rear axle to the asphalt, making the car more stable under braking. And, as a bonus, it psychologically pressured the Jaguar driver behind, who suddenly saw a wall appear. This was active aerodynamics. In 1955, Mercedes dominated. They won everything: the Mille Miglia, the Targa Florio, the Tourist Trophy. But at the end of 1955, the tragedy struck. After the Le Mans disaster, Mercedes withdrew from motorsport completely for decades, and they were left with two unfinished 300 SLR chassis. They were planned for grueling races like the Carrera Panamericana. What to do with them? The project's chief engineer, the brilliant but nearly deaf, which probably helped, Rudolf Uhlenhaut, had an idea. He took those two chassis and simply put a roof on them. He added tiny mufflers so as not to deafen entire cities and license plates. Thus, the Uhlenhaut Coupe was born, and Rudolf Uhlenhaut began driving it to work every day. It was a Formula One racing car disguised as a road car. Top speed, 290 kilometers per hour, 180 miles per hour. It was the fastest road car in the world. For the next 20 years, nothing could come close. There's a legend Mercedes loves to tell. One day, Uhlenhaut was running late for an important meeting. He got into his coupe and drove the 220 kilometers, 137 miles, from Munich to Stuttgart in 1 hour. We're not going to check the math or safety on that one, but we want to believe it. It was one of these two coupes, Uhlenhaut's personal company car, that was sold in 2022 for 135 million euros. But we cannot ignore the dark side of this perfection, and it lies in one final, little-known fact. Why was the car so light? The 300 SLR's body wasn't made of steel or aluminum. It was made of electron. This is a lightweight, but incredibly expensive magnesium alloy. It made the car phenomenally light, just 880 kilograms. But magnesium has one terrifying property. When it burns, it is almost impossible to extinguish with water. Water only decomposes into oxygen and hydrogen, feeding the flames. During the Le Mans disaster, when Pierre Leva's SLR crashed into the crowd, it was this space-age material that turned the accident into an inferno. Burning fragments of electron scattered into the crowd. Firefighters, unaware of the metal's properties, poured water on it, and the flames only grew stronger. 83 spectators and the driver himself were killed. It wasn't just an accident, it was a tragedy caused by the collision of innovation and reality. The most advanced material became the cause of the most horrific disaster. This was the price of engineering progress. The 300 SLR is not just a car, it's a limit. It is the technological peak reached in 1955, one that took others decades to summit. An F1 engine with aviation technology, active aerodynamics that were ahead of their time, space-age body materials. The greatest victory in endurance racing, the Mille Miglia with Stirling Moss, and the darkest tragedy, Le Mans. And finally, the forbidden fruit, two coupes locked away in a museum for 70 years, as proof of what was possible. That is why it costs 142 million. It's not the price for metal, rubber, and leather. It's the price for a perfect and terrible monument to an era when engineers challenged not just the records of speed, but the very laws of physics. And they won. And they lost. All at the